Good afternoon, everyone. I am so excited to share my vision for starting a new nonprofit museum in Mount Holly Springs, Pennsylvania. The museum will not only provide preserve history and culture, but can also strengthen the community through inclusivity, sustainability, and collaboration. Today, I'll walk you through how the four pillars of corporate social responsibility, which are environmental, ethical, philanthropic, and economic responsibility, will guide our approach. I will also outline an action plan and explain how we can use the asset based community development, or ABCD, to ensure a long term success. The first pillar we will talk about is environmental responsibility. The museum has to prioritize sustainability by minimizing its ecological footprint. This means if we have to use LED and motion sensor lighting, recycling systems, and reclaimed local materials for both the construction and exhibits, we will. By making sustainability part of our operations, we can reduce costs and protect the environment. We can also educate our visitors about responsible living. The second pillar we'll talk about is ethical responsibility. The museum has to be transparent in its operations and inclusive in its leadership and exhibits. Diversity will be reflected in the staff, the volunteers, and in the programming. This way, we can ensure that all of the voices within the museum are being represented. Upholding fair labor practices and protecting any rights that the stakeholders have will be central to building trust within the community. The third pillar we'll talk about is philanthropic responsibility. The museum gives back to the community by offering free or donation-based admissions, providing access to all the families. We can also partner with local schools to host free educational tours, workshops, and cultural events. In addition, staff and volunteers will also be encouraged to participate in community service, which can deepen the museum's connection to Mount Holly Springs. The fourth pillar we're going to talk about is economic responsibility. To balance impact with sustainability, the museum will reinvest in the local economy. This means that we want to hire local staff, artists, and contractors, create new jobs, and support businesses through partnerships. A gift shop that we could have, which would feature local products, would also provide revenue while promoting local talent. This extra funds could be reinvested into the exhibits and educational programming, and also into community initiatives. So let's talk about how we can make this vision real. We would need a clear action plan. First, how we could conduct a community needs assessment to ensure that the museum reflects local values. Second, we'll secure funding through grants like Inspire Museums for America and Pennsylvania Historical and Museum Commission opportunities. Third, we'll establish a phased rollout, starting with small exhibits and educational programs while we build towards a fuller, bigger museum. Finally, we can measure success by tracking community engagement, educational outcomes, and how we affect the local economy. A major part of our strategy is the asset-based community development, or ABCD. Instead of focusing on what the community lacks, ABCD builds on the strengths and assets that are already here and set in Mount Holly Springs. This can include local artists, historians, educators, and even small businesses. If we identify and evaluate these assets, the museum can become a hub for collaboration. For example, if a local school provides student art for exhibits, businesses can also sponsor events. This approach can ensure that the museum belongs to the community, not just be a building in the community. Of course, financial sustainability is key. So we have to look for grants. So grants and sponsorships. Grants like Inspire program for small businesses and the Museum for America initiative can provide funding opportunities. Local and federal support combined with sponsorships from socially responsible businesses can allow us to grow without compromising the values. So, in conclusion, building a museum in Mount Holly Springs is about more than just history. It is about creating a space for trust, equality, education, and sustainability. By weaving corporate social responsibility, an action plan, and asset based community development into its foundation, the museum could uplift the entire region. With your support, we could make this vision a reality and ensure that Mount Holly Springs has a cultural institution that can serve many generations in the future. Thank you.